Hello, welcome to this video. My name is Allie with Amory Speaks, and I am hoping to do just a quick video, sort of an intermission in my sequential growth series to just approach and delineate between numeric values and numerology. My name is Allie with Amory Speaks, of course. Thank you for joining. If you're brand new, welcome to my channel. Offering this video, sort of like I mentioned, in between, that goes along with my sequential growth series, which I am in the making of now. I have the first portion of 10 videos out already, and those talk about the flow formations of energetic exchanges. And what I'm about to introduce is numeric values, and that will show how the numbers run through the sequences, which then move through the flows that are introduced in the first section. I made an intro video already to numeric values, so if you're interested in what exactly I'm talking about with numeric values, you can check that video. I'll put a link in the description or perhaps in the comments. So you can check that out if you haven't seen it yet. But I mentioned in that video that I might make a separate video about numerology. Personality numerology is what I like to call it. Just because in the mainstream world, it seems like everything gets jumbled together into one kind of thing, like numerology. And I find that there's a lot of different avenues that get lumped together, and it's not always beneficial. And then especially what I'm attempting to bring forth with sequential growth is a systems-based, generic, and unbiased kind of way of looking at numbers. And so if you have a reference with numerology and its personality numerology, which is very tied into personification of numbers, this is the reverse of that. And in fact, we're taking the personification out of it and understanding what the rudimentary values are. So I find that there is a really intense, amplified kind of egregore coagulation of energy around numerology. And what I'm hoping to do with this sort of video is to deviate away from that and to introduce a different way of looking at numbers, just in case people are very interested in numerology, or I've got all my school stuff. I didn't even realize, getting ready for homeschooling this morning, and I have all my stuff here. Sorry for the background mess. But I gotta fit videos in when I can. I don't want to offend anyone. I also don't want to steer anyone away from personality numerology, but I would like to encourage, and this is from a personal experience, to encourage people to look and understand about the root, like the root word. And we have, in grammar, we have a root word and a prefix and a suffix. All of that, all of this additional adaptations are really involving with personality numerology. And those, while valuable and valid in many different angles and directions, they can be highly amplified in negative loops and in negative systems and in negativity in general, right? It can be a very self-serving, separate action and exercise to look at your birth chart, to look at your numbers, to read someone else's days, or make a projection based off of some kind of number repetition that they've seen, or house number they're about to buy, or whatever the case is. Out in the mainstream, there is a lot of propaganda that promotes this kind of exercise and this really separatist, negatively aligned, secretive, occult kind of approach and practice around numerology. And I myself, I just don't align with that completely, and I find that it is highly negatively infiltrated. And I myself have literally pulled back out of personality numerology for that reason, to hold myself accountable and to really, admit and work with myself that I do want positively aligned systems in my life. And so letting go of things like that has been a newer venture, but it's definitely needed and well worth it. And I feel like after having the fundamentals of understanding numeric values and approaching personality numerology afterwards, lots of clarifications come in, lots of new ways to look at numbers of people and personalities and weaknesses and affinities, light and shadow aspects really become more obvious and helpful when we first have this general knowledge base. So if you are interested in numerology and you already know some bits about that, it can be really helpful, or it could be really beneficial to you to check out the videos that I'm going to do next in the second portion about numeric values. And even if you're one of those folks who, numerology, you don't want it, it's devilish, it's occult, it's whatever, we don't have to have such a defensive or offensive stance against information. Information, it can never harm us. It's the choices that we choose to make based on information that we use that brings benefit or harm, right? So understanding that we really wield the power of discernment while approaching, assessing, and even using and utilizing numbers, numerology, energetics in that kind of way. I find personally that this is organic information. This is information that nature taught me, that God has spoken through to me. That is not anything that, is meant to harm or meant to cause harm in any way. It's not meant to cause a separation from Source, Creator, God, whatever you like to look at that as, your ancestors, your higher self, your lineage, your soul, the logos, whatever dynamics that you feel comfortable in referencing. These actually help us to align more clearly with truth versus creating our own deviations, wrinkles, and distortions that we think are sort of truth and then following those leads. This is really a nice railing to hold on to, or crutch sort of, to help guide us and to remind us that, oh yeah, we can lean into this. Oh yeah, this is reliable and organically based. It does work when positioned and interacting with external people, with others, with reality. It all actually works. It's not going to fall apart like some kind of sterile zone experiment that can never be placed out in reality because, the parameters just wouldn't allow for the results to take place, which a lot of times can be what casting charts and things like that can be. They're created in a vacuum, and they're out of time and space, and sometimes they're just more confusing and they're not helpful. And if people don't have the understanding of where the markers actually are, sometimes the information can actually be more harmful than helpful, I found. So that's another reason for me to sort of pull out of projections and calculations, charts, and measurements of people and situations and circumstances, because I really don't believe live action is meant to be measured. Measurements are made for patterns, for tailor fitting of generic truths, not for running out after the fact and trying to get. You know what I mean? I'm going to bring it back to the same kind of seamstress metaphor that I've used quite often, but you're not going to take the measurements of the person you're making a coat for after you've cut the size of the sleeves, after you've measured the shoulders, after you've created the zipper and the back and everything. You need the measurements first, and you need to understand what those measurements actually mean. And so I think sometimes with numerology, we just jump into it and we start trying to measure our coat based on somebody else's coat, and we don't even know what the pattern originally was, you know? Or we don't even respect that there is a generic pattern. That's even more dangerous. So whether or not you're interested in personality numerology, this sort of series I think is wonderful for everyone. But it also is a bit of a disclaimer and a cautionary tale here that we should perhaps be pulling out of those kinds of services, actions, quests, seeking. You know, you're not going to find anything, and no one external from you is going to point to truths within you that are unknown to you. No chart is going to bring up and have some kind of secret in there that you don't already know. Here and here and here. You know, mind, body, and spirit all already know these things. So I think that a lot of confusion gets that we think there's answers that lie out there somewhere for us, when in fact they don't. It's just more confusion, illusions, and delusions out there. So instead, learning in here how to find the truth, learning about the sequential flow of things and how things grow organically will help you to learn how you are growing, what sequences you're within, and then the answers are obvious, you know. There's no more questions needed. So yeah, that's my sort of little disclaimer here, injecting in the middle of my series to just bring up the topic of personality numerology, and also speak about perhaps, you know, if you've got triggers around it, or you've got rough edges around it, or if you really love it even, you know, this series is still for you, and it's not to demonize it or to propagate it up on a pillar. It's really to understand and pull it back and remember these things are tools to wear in our tool belt to do work for us, that we have designed, that we have thought of, that we have manifested and make happen. Tools don't come off and do their own work. There isn't something already there for you, you know, that you have to go out and venture to. You know, this is about our creations and what we choose to do with our own power of free choice. So thanks for listening. Thanks for taking time to hear me. I hope you'll continue on in the series. And if you haven't seen part 1 yet, I hope you'll take a gander at it. And love to hear anybody's feedback, comments, critiques, kindly framed. Would be wonderful. You can send me messages, emails, or comments. Everything's in the description of my contact info. Or you can find me directly on my website, amariespeaks.com. Thanks for your contribution to our collective. We certainly wouldn't be the same without you. Thank you so much for witnessing mine, and I'll see you next time.